Hey guys, it is me, Tanya, founder of the T&G Designs Group Limited. I hope you're all keeping safe and well. Now, in this particular video, we're going to be talking about how to build your brand voice in a way that represents who you really are. Now, that part right there essentially means how you're making sure that you are standing out and showing up in a way that's authentic to you. If you are not doing that, well, you're going to be blending in, and you don't want to be blending in. We were not designed to blend in, no matter what your industry is, no matter what your business does or how it serves people. You were not designed to blend in. You were designed to stand out. So this particular video is going to help you to understand, specifically with your brand voice, how you can make sure that you're doing that, connect better with an audience that actually wants to work with you and equally seek your expertise out, and also do so in a way that's congruent to your standards and your beliefs, more importantly, because it is super important to showcase the fact that you are not only the way forwards or a way forwards, you are also helping your audience to move forwards. And representation is super key, and you need to be able to show up as you authentically in a way that's congruent to your standards and beliefs, so that others can then understand why it is that you should be the go-to expert that they need to be seeking out and equally working with. So, make sense? Right. Make sure that you go ahead and stick around to the very end of this video, because I've got something to make sure that you are continuously taking action even after watching this video. So stick around to the end, make sure you get involved in that, because it's going to be super beneficial to you. And before you do all of that, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to this channel, because I share content just like this. For me, it's not only just about branding, it's about realizing and helping you and others just like you to know that you are more than what you see. So in order to be able to do that, you need to be able to get stuck into this content. This content that I'm sharing with you allows you to not only elevate within your brand, but also showcases how you can make those better connections, the ones that you're actually looking for, not the ones that you feel that you've actually gotta make in order to get by. No, it's all about making purposeful connections, because purposeful connections lead to purposeful moves, which leads to the results that you're actually looking for. So, folks, without further ado, let's get stuck into it. So how to build your brand voice that represents who you really are is something that's super key, as I shared with you at the beginning of this video, right? Now, when you know how to share your brand voice or equally build on your brand voice, you're going to know how to make sure that you are, again, standing out above your competition, not drowning amongst the noise as to what they're actually getting up to, and actually standing true to who it is that you are, why it is that you really help people, and who it is that you can really connect and build relationships with. That is super key in order to make sure that you're getting the growth that you're looking for, and equally the results that you're also looking for too. So, first of all, you've got to understand, what is a brand voice all to begin with? Well, your brand voice essentially reflects who you are, what it is that you stand for, why it is that you stand for it. You know, your values, your vision, your purpose. You know, I always talk about your brand power of 3. Your brand voice will always reflect those key things. And with your brand power of 3 in mind, pay particular attention to the idea of your values, okay? Because this is where it's going to really help you. Your values will help you to understand these key things that you want to make sure that you're connecting with when it comes to building your brand voice. Your brand power of 3, the value element. And I'll showcase to you exactly, you know, what I'm talking about when it comes to bringing in your values to make sure that all of this stuff makes sense to begin with. So when we think about social media, for example, your brand values, your brand voice more specifically, will actually help you to build on the themes, the categories, the ideas as to what you actually want to be talking about on specific days, weeks, or months, however that may look to you, okay? So the first thing you want to make sure that you're connecting with is the idea of emotion. And what I mean by emotion, I'm talking about the idea of tapping into something personable. Your brand voice will be reflected through this. Now, in order for this part to work, you need to think of one of your values. Your values, for example, could be the idea of freedom. And I know I use that a lot because it's actually one of my values. But at the same time, what is one of your biggest non-negotiable values, okay? And we're going to lead with that. Freedom is one of mine. Freedom to have peace of mind. Freedom to have the space to think, to have the space to just be. All ties in with the idea of freedom. Think about your top value. Now, with that value, think of a story behind it. For example, you may, I'm going to use freedom. For me, it could be, or this could also be for you. So you may have the opportunity to just go for a walk. You may have the opportunity to just go and fly, the freedom to fly, the freedom to travel, the freedom to just have that time to yourself, to collect yourself, or to whatever that means for yourself, okay? The freedom to do X, Y, and Z. What does that look like for you? Or what does your top value look like to you? I'm going to use freedom as I shared with you, and I'm also going to use the idea of travel. Now, travel, it could be, for example, I'm going to say, yep, do you know what? I'm finally on this airplane because now I have the freedom to just go and be. For the longest of time, I've been working hard. I've been helping clients. I've been helping others to rebuild who it is that they are. And now it's time for me to rebuild myself in order to make sure that I actually keep serving my clients. And it could be as simple as that. So use your emotion, use the idea of the personable attitude or personable feeling that others can really relate to. People will relate to working hard, and people will relate to the idea of, do you know what, you need to relax in order to be able to rebuild and to get to that next stage, right? People will relate to that. So how can you make sure that with emotion in mind, you are helping others to relate to what it is that you're doing and why it is that you're doing it? So emotion aside, now let's move on to this next part. This is number 2 within the things that you need to make sure that you're connecting with. Now, this one you probably wouldn't think is an obvious one, but it's something that you should always be doing. And it's something that I constantly share with you guys, especially in my other videos. This particular thing will be the difference between you making sure that you're actually getting the results that you're looking for versus you not getting the results and constantly hitting a brick wall because you're not doing enough of this thing. Now, this thing that I'm talking about is the idea of consistency. Consistency in the way that you are showing up with your brand voice. Your brand voice, as I shared with you, is all about your beliefs, your standards, what it is that you're standing for, how it is that you're standing for them, and equally your brand power of 3 mixed all into that. Now, your consistency element, and the reason why I'm talking about consistency is because if you are not being consistent in how you are showing up, that representation of who you are is going to be muddled. People are not going to get it. They'll be looking at you on one platform thinking, why is this person not the same on this other platform? And then even in person, why are they completely different? You've got to make sure that you are consistent across all boards. Show up as you mean to be seen. Do not deviate from that. Make sure that you are standing true to your standards and your beliefs, because that's what's important. And that's how you'll bring across your authenticity, more importantly. Now, how do you do that? What does that even look like? Now, for me, aside from sharing my message with you till I'm blue in the face, right? I'm always going to make sure that, you know what, we're going to have some kind of a laugh. We're going to enjoy this conversation that we're having, but also I'm going to be super open with my ideas. If there's something that you're sharing with me, I'm going to give you feedback, if only the feedback is required, that is, by the way. But at the same time, I'm going to be having that exchange with you because I believe in natural conversations. I believe in making sure that this conversation that we're having is not only purposeful, but is also meaningful too. I show up in that kind of a way. How do you show up, especially in person? This person that you're seeing here right now is the person that you'll see when you get to meet me. The person that you see here right now is also the person that you start reading about in articles, in interviews, however I may show up. That's how you see me. How are you showing up as you? Again, it's all about keeping your values in mind. So one of my other major values is the idea of openness. In order to be open, you need to be able to accept all of what's coming to you, and more specifically, be able to share the knowledge that you have and be able to share what it is that you also know in order to bring a decent conversation to the table. It starts even from there, folks. So we have emotion, we have consistency. Now this the third thing that you want to make sure that you are connecting with is super important once again. They all are, right? You want to make sure that your brand voice is doing all the things that you really want it to do, right? So you do that by way of representation. Now, not only does your brand voice represent you, right? You're also going to make sure that the way that you're showing up consistently, the way that you're putting in that emotion that relates to your brand voice, your brand power of 3 as well, you want to make sure that when it comes to representation, you're also representing your audience that you're actually speaking to and connecting with once again, right? That connection level right there is how you make sure that people pay attention now to your brand voice. How you make sure that with your brand voice in mind, the idea of representation really reinforces what your message is about. For example, me. I'm a Black female entrepreneur. I am a woman in business. I am so many things that others also see within themselves. Not even just as a woman, not even as a female entrepreneur. Men see themselves in me too, simply by way of resilience, simply by way of ambition, simply by way of what it is that I do as a branding specialist. So how are you connecting with your audience? There are many different levels that you connect with your audience on. Make sure again that when it comes to your values, you are sharing the inspiration of why it is that you're doing what you're doing, and really think and deep dive as to why these values are your values in the first place. Simply because when it comes to building your brand voice, the minute you start tapping into your values just that little bit more. Do you remember at the beginning when I shared about emotion, right? I was talking about the idea of freedom, but it's freedom of peace of mind, freedom of space. What does your value mean to you? That's how you get the answer out in order to be able to show up with this last point. What does representation mean to you, especially when it comes to that value that you have in mind? What does representation mean to you? Think about how you are speaking to others. What is it that you're showcasing? It could also be simply you're representing somebody who's in your industry, representing them, letting others know that guess what, I've done it, so you can do too. I had a similar upbringing as you, or I was from the same region as you. So many different avenues that you can connect with people on, especially when it comes to the idea of representation. So think about how you are doing so. Now, folks, I'm conscious that yes, was a lot, but at the same time, those are the three things that you want to make sure that you're connecting with when it comes to building your brand voice, especially in a way that's congruent to your standards and beliefs, so that you can stand out and show up authentically as you. Because representation, as I shared with you before, is super key. So when you're doing this, you're doing so in a way that is congruent to your standards and your beliefs and who it is that you truly are. So please make sure you go ahead and comment underneath this particular video. Equally share with me your views. Share with me what it is that you actually resonated. What was your one big takeaway, in fact? Share with me your one big takeaway, and I'd love to come in and actually respond to it as well. And on the idea of responses, do this next thing as well. Underneath this particular video, in the description box section, you're going to come to the first link. Click on that first link. Now, when you do so, you'll be asked for a few details, but what's going to happen next is that I'm actually going to be sharing with you some key things that you can start taking action with today. Because as I shared with you at the very beginning with this video, and if you're still watching this video, that tells me that you are ready to keep making sure that you are going to be leveling up with your brand. Now, your brand. I know a lot of people are still confused about what branding can actually do. So this particular checklist is going to help you to understand what branding can really do for yourself, who it is that you stand for, what it is that you represent, and why it is that you're really doing what it is that you're doing. Because with all these things in mind, that's how you're going to make sure that you are not only building on your brand voice, but doing so in a way that represents who you really are. But also you're going to start connecting with the people that you want to be connecting with, more specifically those clients that you actually want to be working with. And on top of that, you're going to make sure that you're actually building the awareness of who it is that you are, why it is that you're really doing what you're doing, and why others should actually come and seek you out in the process. So I'm going to leave it there. I really hope that this video actually resonated with you. And folks, I will see you on the other side.